Thank you very much, Dr. Goldstein, or Rosie, if I may.
You may.
As I've known you for so many years, and Deborah as well, who I have also known since the beginning of Research Canada, and even earlier. Thank you for your kind words. I'm deeply honored by this singular award and humbled as well. I feel the work that I do and have done pales in comparison to the work that Research Canada has done over the years as a national force in drawing attention to health research and the crucial role it plays in reminding governments and policy people in Ottawa about its value to society. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak briefly to my colleagues and friends across the country. Much has been written about advocacy. This prompted me to search for the meaning of the word as it might apply to me. I discovered that there are many meanings, in fact, over 100 synonyms. The dictionary definition of advocacy is any action that speaks to the favor of, recommends, or argues for a cause, or supports, or defends, or pleads on behalf of others. In practice, it turns out that there are three kinds of advocacies: advocacy for an individual, such as self, advocacy for an organization of interest, and advocacy for a cause. I believe in my case, it relates to a cause, which is the promotion of knowledge and research in the health domain for the benefit of society. Over the years, my advocacy has been to encourage health science literacy in society. Secondly, to promote knowledge creation for its own sake and as a precursor to transition, translation, commercialization for the public good. And thirdly, to develop community-based partnerships to help recruit and retain the next generation of researchers. Having said all that, I realized that this is not unique to me. Many individuals and many organizations also advocate for these purposes, but I'm not sure we all do it in the same way. This leads back to my own career and to try and understand how and why I became engaged in advocacy. I decided to focus my remarks on those activities that I feel have had some impact. I reviewed my own educational and professional profile and can identify 4 phases where leadership and advocacy was evident. In 1953, in my freshman year at the University of Manitoba, I organized a fundraising fair as captain of my fraternity pledge class. Here is a photo that appeared in the Winnipeg Free Press of me, age 17, in 1953, presenting a check in the amount of $269 to the Canadian Children's Aid Society. This is equivalent to $2,253 in today's dollars, a tidy sum. This may have been where it all started. Now, 58 years later, slide please, it has been recognized with Research Canada Leadership and Advocacy Award just presented to me. What an honor, what a trophy. The second phase was during my early specialty training and research fellowship experience when I was immersed in an environment of collegial mentorship at McGill University. A number of individuals there whom I encountered were dedicated to the welfare and career support of clinician scientists. These were the people whom I sought to emulate because of their altruistic commitment to education and care. I single out Dr. Charles Hollenberg, my graduate supervisor, leader, friend, and role model. As well, I'd like to note and mention Dr. Gardner McMillan, chair of the Department of Pathology and head of the Pathological Institute there at the time, a most generous, visionary scholar who gave me my first academic appointment at McGill University. This community of mentors helped shape my values and sense of purpose. The third phase that I can recognize in the 1970s and 1980s was a research-intensive period at the University of Toronto in the Department of Medicine at the Toronto General Hospital in the endocrine group. There I had the support and guidance of leading scientists, educators such as Jack Laidlaw and Bun McCullough, who established the Institute of Medical Science, IMS, and the Clinical Science Division, of which I was a part and eventually led. I was a beneficiary of their experience, their vision, and their generosity in developing an environment of inquiry in medical science. It was during this period that I became involved in many scientific organizations across Canada and internationally. My interest in organizational aspects of science grew, and I became involved in leadership roles in a number of scientific societies. This slide is a partial list of scientific societies that I led. In some, I had a founding organizational role, and I'd like to point out something that's obvious, that as president of an organization, one is ipso facto an advocate of its mission. The fourth phase of my odyssey of advocacy, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it became clear to many in the academic community that we lacked national coordination in promoting health science and that there was a clear shortage of clinician scientists in the makeup of our medical schools. Clinician scientists were deemed an endangered species. As the first scholar in residence at MRC, under the guidance of Dr. Henry Friesen, then president, I established Alumni and Friends of MRC as an advocacy group. When MRC transitioned to the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, CIHR, in 2000, we changed our name to Friends of Canadian Institutes of Health Research, FCIHR. This non-for-profit charitable organization took root and, of course, is active to this day. One of its major goals is to recruit, support, and retain clinical researchers. Now, to achieve these goals, we partnered with like-minded organizations in a special way. We coordinated annual scientific national meetings and developed complementary programs. In this way, we doubled the audience and promoted interdisciplinary themes, a list of the various associations that we collaborated with. In the early days, we collaborated with partners in research out of the University of Western Ontario. We developed an active partnership over a 5-year period with CIHR Institute of Circulatory and Respiratory Health, as well as the Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences at St. Boniface Hospital and the University of Manitoba. A shout out to Dr. Bruce McManus and Dr. Niranjan Dalla, Sequential Institute directors at the time. We also integrated programs with the Canadian Society for Clinical Investigations, CSCI, and with the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences in collaboration with Dr. Paul Armstrong. The most creative phase of advocacy began with the launch of the Henry G. Friesen International Prize in Health Research in 2005. The Friesen Prize was established by Friends of Canadian Institutes of Health Research to honor Dr. Friesen, the former and founder of CIHR. Its purpose is to recognize leaders of international stature for exceptional achievements in health science and policy. A list of Friesen laureates are shown in the next slide. What an impressive group. Initially, the Friesen Prize event involved a lecture and a social gathering. Over time, it's evolved into a program with national scope and engagements in many universities and research institutes across Canada. The Friesen International Prize program was subsequently spawned many lectures, conferences, roundtables, and social gatherings in Canadian centers, and thereby expanded the scope and impact of our foundational purposes, which included the following: to advocate and educate the informed public, to collaborate with community-based organizations, and to support and retain the next generation of researchers. The Friesen laureates were an integral part of the process because the terms of reference of the prize included obligations to visit university centers and research institutes across Canada and engage leaders, scientists, and students. This cross-pollination of knowledge, experience, and vision by these exceptional individuals is surely enriching. This is advocacy at work and has been a winning formula. The added virtue of this model is that it repeats annually, thus reinforcing its impact. The Friesen Prize program added a novel feature in its institutional visits by organizing roundtables as a regular element. This began about 6 years ago and serves as the thematic supplement to the Friesen lectures. Here, in consultations with the Dean of Medicine or VP Research, local experts and selected guests were impaneled, of course, taking into account gender balance, etc., to discuss a topic of contemporary interest. The discussion is recorded, transcribed, and published in print and online. The next slide, this one shows a list of the titles of the proceedings emanating from these roundtables. I'll just show an example. This is one of the published proceedings that we prepare. These are available free for anybody who likes them, so be in touch with us. We take the view that focused roundtable discussions on a topic of interest is a form of advocacy that can have an enduring impact if it is widely shared through publications or video recordings, and they are on our website online. We also publish the Friesen lectures in book form and in both languages, English and French. This serves to immortalize the achievements and vision of our prize winners. I'm holding up book number 6, featuring Alan Bernstein and David Naylor's manuscripts. Book number 7 is in process and will feature Bartha Knopper's and Sir Mark Walport's writings, who we just received. Another initiative of Friends of CIHR is the Video History of Medicine in Canada project that documents the detailed life stories of iconic Canadian scientists, educators, and leaders. University professor Michael Bliss, may he rest in peace, interviewed 11 major figures for 4 to 6 hours in multiple sittings. DVDs have been prepared for some, and here is an example of Brenda Milner's life work, Canada's most distinguished neuropsychologist. And here there are 3 DVDs with an average of 30 chapters each, a brilliant compilation of an individual of great stature and accomplishment. Many are still in hard drives, but all of them have been excerpted in YouTube video clips embedded in our FCIHR website. Friends of CIHR has also been active at the local level, where we are based at Massey College, University of Toronto. Over the past 16 years, we have engaged the health science students at college in a program called Massey Grand Rounds, MGR. Here, monthly gatherings are organized for about a dozen junior fellows each event, where accomplished faculty members are hosted for lively discussion. This group also organizes an annual Massey Grand Round Symposium targeted to a wider audience. 3 years ago, we established the Janet Rosant Lecture in her honor. That features mid-career scientists as part of the MGR Symposium. Now, on behalf of Friends of CIHR across the country, I'd like to express appreciation to Massey College and Principal Nathalie Desrosiers for her encouragement and wonderful support of all our programs. It's been an exceptionally productive collaboration in the interest of graduate students. In closing, I'd like to give thanks to my board of directors, particularly the executive, Bev Holmes, Alex McKenzie, Reinhard Reichmeyer, and Bruce McManus, as well as my nominators, for their support over the years, and also Ms. Christina Castelvi, Administrative Assistant, who has been part of every aspect of our programs and is most committed in an elegant way. Finally, I'd like to thank Esther Rose Angel, my dear wife of 60.5 years, for her life-extending company, her encouragement, and her cooking. In closing, I offer an insightful and relevant quote by Maya Angelou, a famous American poet and memoirist. Quote, I learned a long time ago, the wisest thing I can do is to be on my own side, be an advocate for myself and others like me. Thank you very much for your attention.